huge show, probably the biggest fight in the US in a long time, as much as I might hate to admit that, and that is Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. This has made waves since it was announced earlier this year. What are people in the UK thinking about this fight?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag to tell you the truth because Jake Paul, I've used that term marmite on this podcast before. Well, I don't know what the term is for someone who most people don't like. I don't know how well received Jake Paul is in the US, whether he's a marmite character and some people love him, some people hate him. But I would say it's probably an 80-20 split in terms of people who don't like him in comparison to those that do like him. So first of all, what is the US's opinion on Jake Paul?
I would actually equate him not to Marmite. I don't know if you've ever been to Iceland, but everybody who goes to Reykjavik has to have what's called the rotten shark, the fermented shark. And you know that it's going to taste bad, but you have to experience it anyway. And I think that is my best description of Jake Paul. He is in bad taste, although he's definitely put in the work to become a better boxer. The way I put it in my TV picks piece on Boxing Scene is that this is the freak show that really sells people on buying tickets to the circus. But once you get inside, is when you begin to see all the talent that is underneath the big top. And so while people will be watching to see how a 58-year-old former heavyweight champion who's long past his prime does against somebody who is much younger, 30 years younger, but has been fighting, admittedly, at a much lower level than Tyson ever did. Be interesting to see how that's handled. I don't know that I want to talk about this fight too much, but it will be watched. It will be talked about the same way that casuals have been talking about Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao over the years. I'm more excited about what this means for the co-feature. Jake Paul, as much as we can and do malign him, he is the manager, the promoter of Amanda Serrano. And the co-feature of this fight will be the rematch between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Their first fight was for the undisputed lightweight championship. This one is for undisputed at 140. What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, I am so pleased that they are getting the sort of paydays which they should be getting. I know that Amanda Serrano had put something on her own social media this week saying that her and Katie broke the $1 million mark for their first fight. And so they should have, and they probably should have got paid even more than that. And in her words, it was something along the lines of, and this breaks that record by quite a considerable amount, which is great because the first fight was amazing. It was so good. It was so entertaining. It was all action. I've genuinely been excited about this rematch for a long time. In fact, I probably haven't been as excited for a rematch and a genuine rematch like this for a very very long time, maybe even years. So that is great that there are some proper fights on the undercard. But if I can just rewind to the whole Mike Tyson Jake Paul circus. Now, what I will say about Jake Paul is I do admire like his ability to market in the way that he has. Even if it is done in the wrong way, like he has made himself an extremely wealthy man, and then he's been able to create the opportunities for the likes of Amanda Serrano off the back of the way that he's acted. But from a health perspective, I genuinely have some concerns about a 58-year-old man going in there with someone, and he can punch Jake Paul because he's knocked people absolutely clean out. So, he really can punch. And it's one thing Mike Tyson taking those punches 30 years ago, he would have just shrugged his shoulders. But 30 years later, as a 58-year-old man, and everybody knows that your body and your brain and everything about you deteriorates the older you get. And let's not beat around the bush. Mike Tyson isn't a man who has necessarily looked after himself since he gave up boxing. So I do have concerns about him receiving a series of concussive blows over and over again, regardless of how much money he's going to make. And if this goes terribly wrong, there's going to be some people who have got a lot of explaining to do, and I don't think they're going to have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, you can post as many very brief video clips edited smoothly to make Tyson look like a beast in training. And mind you, I wouldn't want to fight Mike Tyson for 3 seconds, 1 minute, but as you said, Jake Paul can crack, and Tyson at 58 hasn't taken punches. We haven't seen him any sparring footage, so we don't know how he's doing, who he's doing that against. I am worried about his health. This is another one of those cases where boxing is letting money get in the way of safety or in the way of wisdom. You know, I covered Tyson's final pro fight. That was actually the first boxing match that I ever covered ringside, and that was 2005 versus Kevin McBride in Washington, D.C. Tyson just he quit. He just wasn't able to break down a guy like McBride, and that was 19 and a half years ago. So it's easy to wonder then, how is Tyson going to do now? Like if he was done in 2005, and Tyson would say that he was done before that. Maybe he was done in 2002 after he lost to Lennox Lewis. Maybe he was done in 1996 and 1997 after he lost to Evander Holyfield. Maybe he was done after Buster Douglas. Either way, this is a 58-year-old man. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I am worried that this could all go awry.
Yeah, me too. And is it right that Mike Tyson got angry with you once?
I wouldn't say he got angry with me, but he cursed in my general direction.
Well, tell us the story.
So the McBride fight, Tyson was trying to break him down, but even in his late 30s, he didn't have the endurance anymore, which makes me wonder what he has at 58 years old. So Tyson resorted to trying to foul Kevin McBride, trying to injure him that way. And when that didn't work, McBride landed some shots and Tyson just quit. So I asked Tyson after the fight why he was fouling McBride. And he looked at me and he goes, "Man, I was desperate. I wanted to win. Shit."
That's a good impression. Very good indeed.
Thank
No,
you.
I've seen you tell that story before, and I thought people would enjoy that.
That was when I was on Jeopardy. That was the first um, story that I had for Alex Trebek. They circle your potential stories for him to ask you about. He comes up to my pedestal and he's looking down at his note card, and I look at him and I say, you want to hear my Mike Tyson impression. And Alex Trebek, God rest his soul, looks up at me and goes, "You do a Tyson impression too." So I got to do that impression on national TV. I do think that they inserted a laugh track for it.
No, it is good. It's a good one. But going back to Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor as well, something which I didn't say is Katie Taylor won that last fight on a split decision. And I think that Serrano should have been the champion. What I think that Serrano won that fight. And they are the top. They are the sort of fights which deserve rematches, aren't they? Because how many times do we see a shutout or a fairly decent scrap, and then all of a sudden everyone's screaming rematch, rematch, rematch? It's like not every fight needs a rematch.
We were just talking about that with Boots Ennis versus Chukashan, although that rematch at least turned out to be worth it. Yeah, this is a fight that needed a rematch. Needed a rematch. It's coming 2.5 years later. They're both getting up there in age. Katie Taylor is 38 years old now. Serrano's 36 herself. They've both been through a lot, as in they've accomplished a lot, been around for a while. It'll be interesting to see whether time, wear, and tear catches up with one or both of them. But no matter what, these are two of the best women fighters in the world right now. They were put on the best women's fight of 2022 and one of the best fights of either gender in 2022. So my hope is that we get a great show. And as you said, they are getting paid. And given the fact that women boxers haven't really gotten that kind of attention, those kind of paydays before, I'm hoping that not only will this be good for Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, but that this will continue to open doors for women fighters down the road.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. There's a story which I will. I tell you what, I'll do it now. So I think that's really important, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there is a female fighter who I know who is a world champion and is like just financially not in a fantastic way. And when you're a champion of the world, regardless of what weight you are, you should be getting paid more than enough money to be financially very stable, especially at this present moment. I'm not saying that every fighter earns enough money to look ahead into the future and say, I'm sorted, I can buy 2 or 3 properties. But you shouldn't be in a position where you can't wait for your next fight to happen. Like, and that is a sad thing to see. That is a sad place for the sport to be.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about how Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall have moved into MMA to seek out other opportunities. Amanda Serrano had done the same as well. I was just thinking with what you were saying, Sinisa Estrada, the undisputed champion, I think at 108, just retired undefeated. And I think part of that is that the sport became too frustrating for her, wasn't really getting the paydays commensurate with her talent. Um, the sport has come a long way for women in a short amount of time, but there still is a long way to go. Before we forget, I do want to mention that there is one other major world title fight on the undercard, and that is the fight between Mario Barrios defending his WBC title against Abel Ramos. Barrios is one of those guys that I'd like to see boots and his face if he is to stick around at 147. Otherwise, maybe a fight between Barrios and the winner with Imantas Stanionis' next fight, which is for the WBA world title. And then there is, I believe, one other title fight on the undercard, and that is for the vacant WBO super middleweight title. That is a U.S. fighter, Shadeja Green, versus a UK fighter, Melinda Watpool. Let's move on